Hello everyone, we're going to talk about something a little bit different today. A local game store is starting a league for Blood Bowl. Now this is the game that I've wanted to play for a long time. I've had a set of this painted up for a while, but I just haven't been able to get an actual game in. Anyway, they're holding a demo introduction kind of thing tomorrow, so I'm going down. I'm going to hopefully get my first full game of Blood Bowl in, at least miniature game wise. I've played this game quite a bit on the computer, but never against real people. So I've looked into this game a while, and I've read and seen some strategies that other people have posted, and it's different than how I play. Now, granted, I don't play against real people. I just play against the computer. So I can understand what they're talking about, but I really have to experience what I'm doing differently and how an actual human will take the strategies that I use apart. So I'm going to discuss what I've been doing when I play against the computer, and I'm going to go into this demo day doing that sort of thing, and I'm going to learn why that's a bad idea. So I'm just going to talk about my starting orc team here. First off, just maybe some things that I use that the interwebs say that you shouldn't use, and then we'll go into my actual strategies and what I do against a computer and see what happens when a real person destroys that. First thing you may have noticed is we have a troll. Most things that I've read online and articles say stay away from trolls. I imagine it's because of the unreliability of them. They're really stupid, and so on the roll of a 1 before you start anything, they just won't do anything. Now, I come from Warhammer Fantasy, so I'm really used to my orcs and goblins not doing what you tell them to. It's not unusual to have to go through 2 rolls just to get your guys to charge or do something useful. So the roll of a 1 every round doesn't really bother me that much. The lack of block is a bit of a problem, but on the other hand, if I'm an opponent and I'm looking at this strength 5 character with Mighty Blow just sitting in the middle of the line, I would think that that's a real problem. And models that are resistant to injury really appeal to me. So I've invested a certain amount of money in this troll, and because he has regeneration, he's really hard to injure. I mean, first off, he has armor value 9, he's got strength 5, and then the regeneration on top of that, meaning he's going to ignore half of the casualty results he gets. I think that's a really good investment. It means I'm probably never going to have to rebuy this guy. He can shrug off a lot of damage if the opponent even tries to damage him, which might be unlikely. So I like the trolls. So I'm going to start with 1 and see how it goes. Now again, it might be a complete turkey, and I might change my mind, but for the time being, this is my troll Pabst. You see he's got his little blue ribbon there, number 13, and so we're going to start with him. The second thing I want to discuss is I like throwers. Now, usually for the starting orc teams, people say you should start with an orc thrower, but I like having 2. I'm a little bad at rolling dice, so I tend to screw up easy rolls pretty easily. So I like the throwers, and they have sure hands, and you get to re-roll the dice to pick up a ball. And I like having 2 of them in the backfield, just getting me that little bit closer to being where I want them to pick up the ball. And that includes when I'm playing defense too. If I knock the ball loose, it means I'm twice as likely to have a thrower nearby to try and grab the ball, to have that re-roll to do it. And so I like those guys. Also, they're not really too bad. Their armor value is 1 less than normal orc, but it's still 8. And otherwise, they move just as fast and they hit just as hard. They're just an extra set of hands to throw blocks and to defend. And I don't think they're a bad deal at all. I don't like passing. Too many rolls that can go wrong. They do have the throw skill, which allows them to reroll the pass, but no one on my team has the catch skill. So unless I've absolutely got things wrapped up and there's no chance of the opponent grabbing the ball, I'd really rather not toss the ball. So anyway, that's those guys. The next thing is black orcs. They're sort of the opposite of throwers. A lot of things that I've read online say make sure you max out on black orcs, or well, that's one of the strategies. They say, get the Black Orcs early, get them leveled up. I think the Black Orcs are really unreliable. Strength 4 is nice, but without block, they're really vulnerable to some bad rolls. Also, they have a lot of downsides. They're slower than any of the other models on my team, which means that if they're stranded with no one to get to, it takes them that much longer to get to where they need to go. And moving along with Black Orcs when you're making a cage slows the whole thing down a little bit. And of course, their agility is terrible. So if they come near the ball, they're just not going to have a very good chance of picking it up. They're not going to have a very good chance of catching it if you absolutely need to throw it. They're really limiting in that way. So if you put Black Orcs on your team, they're just there for hitting. And even with that, the lack of block means that they're not always going to succeed at that. So I've only put 2 on my team. If I really get flush with cash, I can add more, but I'm just not in love with these guys as much as a lot of other people are. Now, Orc Blitzers are another story. I can absolutely see why people just max out on Orc Blitzers. They're better in every way. They're absolutely fabulous. They have the block skill. They have an extra point of movement. They're just tremendous. And I'm only starting with 2 here now. If I had my choice about things, I would probably drop a reroll and get 2 more blitzers, replace 2 linemen with blitzers. But for right now, when I started this whole thing, I just painted the basic contents of the Blood Bowl set and then added a troll because I like trolls. So I haven't actually got the blitzers painted, but for the time being, I'll stick with 2 and see how that does me. And of course, I have the rest just in linemen. The linemen I do like. They're a little bit slower than your average Blood Bowl model, but their armor value of 9 is really nice. That said, if I can replace them with anything else, I probably would, with the exception of Black Orcs. Anyway, I have a 12-man team, so I've got an extra lineman here to fill in if someone does get injured. I didn't take an apothecary. Armor 9 should do me pretty well in the beginning. Also, no one's got any skills yet, obviously, so they're not as valuable. So I don't need to keep them alive as much. I did buy 3 team rerolls. Like I said, I tend to fail a lot of dice rolls when I play games. So having rerolls is really nice. A game that allows you to just have kind of a universal reroll is comforting in my mind. Anyway, so that's it for the team and the 3 things that might be dumb ideas. We'll see about that. Next thing I want to get into is starting lineups. Now, when I play against the computer, I tend to just smash everybody onto the starting line. So all these guys go up here, something like that. All these guys go up here, something like that. Just pretend this is the line of scrimmage right here. And then the throwers hang back a little bit just to be able to run down anyone who gets through the line and provide a little extra layer with tackle zones so people have a harder time sneaking through. I'm not real worried about my line of scrimmage. I mean, that's really solid. It would take a lot to make a hole that someone could run through a troll and 2 Black Orcs. What the computer usually does is they blitz one of these guys. They blitz like the far guy, and then they try and sneak along the edges. And of course, the computer's a real dummy, so a human player would probably have a much easier time with this sort of lineup. I imagine it goes something like they just place models specifically so that everyone has a 2 dice block in the beginning, and they just go down the line, dun 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 dun, and put a bunch of people down, and then storm through wherever they can. So, yeah, I can see how this might not be great, how this might not work. So I've been looking at some other strategies. The one I probably like the best is this double stacked defense right here. So you take most of your guys off the starting line and then double stack people on the edges. So you have all these tackle zones that someone needs to sneak through, and you're really going to have a hard time. Even if you do get a blitz off on one of these guys, there's another guy right behind him, which makes it a lot more difficult to get anywhere with. I think that looks pretty good, I think, as a general defense. Now, One of the things I have is that this can actually be defeated. I mean, those Black Orcs aren't terribly tough. It wouldn't take a whole lot to start knocking those guys down, especially for a power team. And the other thing I don't like is, say you don't have a power team, say you have a softer running team, it's now possible to put models on the line of scrimmage that aren't actually in contact with any of my guys. So it could be when it's my turn, I have almost no one that I get to hit. So while I can see why this might be better against a normal human, I'm not 100% positive just piling everyone up on the front line, something like that or something like that, and saying, hey, come deal with that. I can't guarantee that that's actually not a better strategy. I mean, it's going to make them roll the dice. Yeah, the wings look vulnerable, but there's something to be said about making the opponent go all the way onto the edge. Then everyone gets to pile in over there and possibly push them off the field. So I'll probably try a little bit of both. I'll probably try this for one run, and then, if that doesn't work, I'll try doing the double stacked wings. So yeah, anyway, that's tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes, what performs, what doesn't. I'm excited about it. So yeah, hopefully you guys are too, and I'll see you on the next one.